Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Beats, Brews, and Points of View podcast. I'm your host, Neil Richter, sitting with my partner in podcasting across from me, E-Man Bates.
The PIP, that is me, and we are in the city for actually episode 140. So the last one was 139.
Oh, was it really?
Yes. So correction from last week's episode. Yeah, this is 130. This is 140, baby.
This is 140, baby.
Hey.
Yeah, we getting there. Baby.
Hey.
Well, anyways, that song that I started the podcast off with tonight is a song called Revolution by a artist that is a friend of our show. Her name is Na Bonsai, a.k.a. Anna, from Honey Monsoon, that she's been on the podcast here with, and has gone on to experiment into her own solo endeavors. And man, I cannot
get into the rump shaking field. By the way, that
man,
was like a groove, dog.
I cannot express enough how dope of an artist in so many different avenues I think she is. I mean, she does, between the shows, the artwork that she makes. I mean, she really does like a lot of cool, different interactive stuff. Like, man, I can't say enough good things about her.
I got nothing but good things to say about Anna. But I randomly see her in the most. Well, actually, no, I only see her like there's a coffee shop I go to, and I'm like, she's always working to some shit. But I'm like, yo, yeah, keep doing what you're doing, Anna. You know, we fucking love you. We're gonna support everything you do. But yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, that was a track from her new album that is released on Bandcamp right now called Inner Magic. So do us a favor real quick and go over to Bandcamp, type in N-A space Bonsai, Bonsai. You can get her entire discography for $35. Go to Bandcamp, man. They support the artists a lot more than they get them paid. So,
like, because I knew her for a minute at this point, just seeing like what started with Monsoon to where she is now, like even the sonics of how the music sounds.
Her confidence, bro.
Fucking phenomenal. Just like the experimental shit that she's on right now. I'm digging out. I remember we were at the Fun Fest a couple years ago and she had bars for a minute. I'm like, holy shit. It's phenomenal to me to where she's at right now. So
yeah.
Please keep doing what you're doing.
I feel like this is one of my favorite. This actually is my favorite thing about doing this podcast. Is, you know, we've interviewed so many people now that, like, watching them progress and see where they take their artistic endeavors. After we interview them, it makes me so happy to see. And like, her confidence has been building so much. I feel like she's like really in her own right now. So I'm really excited for her.
She gonna pop.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. But anyways, yeah, welcome back.
Just remember us, homie.
yeah. Remember who played you first. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't. We probably were definitely not the first people to play her. But anyways, yeah, we are back for another episode. I'm excited because we've been kind of I've been delving into this like music history and, you know, experimenting in all the genres and finding out like what created all of them and what the landscape of music was like, what the country was like. I mean, all of that stuff really is fascinating to me. And I really wanted to focus the theme of this episode kind of on singles versus albums, and when in history both were being pushed, because it's gone back and forth, and it's gone even into different avenues, which E-Man's going to talk about with TikTok. But they've definitely gone back and forth with what the labels are trying to push forward: albums, singles, palatable songs for little small clips of TikTok videos, and so on. It's never stopped evolving and changing over the years. And I think we could start off with E-Man talking about what's been going on with TikTok and Universal Music. So I'm going to kick it over to E-Man to talk about that for you.
So if you guys aren't familiar, there's a lot of like sub labels and stuff like that. You know, you got your Atlantics, you got your Interscopes, you got like who's another big
Warner.
One? No, that's not a like a sub one I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. You got Atlantic, Interscope.
Steel by Ramen. I'm just throwing like ones out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's only 3 major record labels in the world. There's Universal Music Group, there's Sony, and there's Warner. and all your favorite like sub labels, like some of the ones we just named there,
TD, Shady Records,
yeah,
Dreamville,
all those
shit.
are under like one of the big three. I'm pretty sure there's Universal Music
Yep.
actually for those three. And this actually really goes into the thing where TikTok pulled all of the Universal Music Group's streaming catalog from TikTok. So, you know, you're like your Ariana Grandes, your Weekends, your Eminems even, your, you know, like all that stuff like that is gone from TikTok. And you gotta think about it, that's like a third of all signed and really profitable artists out of that. And a lot of that is because the splits weren't looking right for the label itself. So I guess we can start with, I got this open letter up that Universal Music Group put out for the TikTok community, and it's entitled "An Open Letter to the Artist and Songwriter Community Why We Must Call Time Out on TikTok." Our core mission is simple: to help out artists and songwriters attain their greatest creative and commercial potential. To achieve these goals, our team must employ an expertise and passion to strike deals with partners all around the world. Partners who take seriously their responsibilities to fairly compensate our artists and songwriters and treat the user experience with respect.
Fucking bullshit!
One of those partners is TikTok, an increasingly influential platform with powerful technology and a massive worldwide user base. As with many other platforms with whom we partner, TikTok's success as one of the world's largest social platforms has been built in large part with the music created by our artists and songwriters. Its senior executives proudly states that publicly that music is at the heart of the TikTok experience. And our analyst confirms that the majority of content on TikTok contains music more than any other major social platform. The terms of our relationship with TikTok are set by contract, which expired January 31st, 2024. In our contract renewal discussions, we have been pressing them on these three critical issues: appropriate compensation for our artists and songwriters, protecting human artists from harmful effects of AI, and online safety for TikTok users. I do want to touch on that, but I'm going to keep going for a minute.
Yeah, go for it.
We have been working to address these and related issues with our other platform partners. For example, our artist-centric initiative is designed to update streaming remuneration model. How do you pronounce that? Remuneration.
Reimagination or
No,
I don't know.
REMUN remuneration model. I'm gonna just go with that. and better just add that to the list, baby. And better reward artists for its value they deliver to platforms. In the months since its inception, we're proud that this initiative has been received so positively and taken up by a range of partners, including the largest music platform in the world. We're also moved more aggressively to embrace the promises of AI while fighting to ensure artists' rights and interests are protected now and far into the future. In addition, we've engaged a number of our platform partners to try to drive positive change for their users and, by extension, our artists, by addressing online safety issues, and we are recognized as the industry leader in focusing on music's broader impact on health and wellness. This AI shit is fucking getting crazy.
Yeah.
And I really, we're going to get on that too.
That couldn't be more such a bag of bullshit. This entire statement you're reading from Universal.
There's more. Do you want to pause right there and then go on the AI thing, or do you want me to keep going, like get the full thing?
Finish the full thing,
Yeah,
and then I'll go into what I wanted to say.
I bet. With respect to the issue of our artist and songwriter compensation, this is the good shit. TikTok proposed paying our artists and songwriters at a rate that is a fraction of the rate that similarly situated major social platforms pay. Today, as an indication of how little TikTok compensates our artists and songwriters, despite its massive and growing user base, rapidly rising and advertising revenue, and increasing reliance on music-based content, TikTok only accounts for about 1% of our total revenue.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. Ultimately, TikTok is trying to build a music-based business without paying fair value for their music. Oh, that sounds like a record label to me. On TikTok.
Yep.
On AI, TikTok is allowing the platform to be flooded with AI-generated recordings, as well as developing tools to enable, promote, and encourage AI music creation on the platform itself, and then demanding a contractual right which would allow this content to massively dilute the royalty pool for human artists, in a move that is nothing short of sponsoring artist replacement by AI. Further, TikTok makes little effort to deal with the vast amount of content on its platforms that infringe our music artists, and that is offered no meaningful solutions to the rising tide of its content adjacency issues, let alone tidal wave of hate speech, bigotry, bullying, and harassment on the platform. Ooh,
Yeah, that's
it's
huge.
getting saucy. The only means to available seek the removal of infringing on problematic content, such as pornographic deepfakes or artists.
We don't need the rest of this. Doesn't matter.
I'll just finish the paragraph out since it's already here. It's through monetary cubism and effective processes, which equates to digital equivalencies of whack-a-mole. The rest of this is not
it's
super relevant.
Yeah, that's and it goes right into what we talked about a little bit on the last week's episode with both the James Blake thing and the Rashida Tlaib thing. James Blake basically talking about how detrimental TikTok has become to a lot of different aspects to the music making industry. One, they're not getting paid from it or even the recognition. He was saying basically, he did a song that went viral. He did a cover of Frank Ocean's Godspeed that neither him or Frank were tagged in. It just said, it just let these people run with original audio of whoever wanted to repurpose the video. So a lot of people didn't even know it was him playing it. Neither him or Frank Ocean received a penny from it, even though it garnered, millions of engagements and shit like this. And so I can understand what Universal's coming from, but it's funny that they want to act like they're doing it in the interest of protecting their artists, which they clearly aren't, because in the same thing that James Blake was talking about is our labels want a bigger cut than ever. So it's really funny how they're kind of playing the victim here when it's really the artists that are the ones getting screwed, not the labels.
We're in changing times, dog.
Yeah.
Where people are. Here's the thing. TikTok is a huge double-edged sword to me, because it is the most fair platform as far as algorithms go, because anything could really pop on TikTok for the most part. Any most random shit. I believe what's my man's name? Dax, for instance. I mean, he popped on TikTok and now he's on tour with Jordan Lucas and shit like that.
Yeah.
And there's some dope artists on there, and there's a lot of exposure and it's potential to a lot of eyes. And it's really cool in that aspect to where it opens it up to a broader spectrum. Like when we were talking about what was it, Bill Withers we were talking about, Bobby Caldwell, we were talking about earlier or last week, where we were saying like, his song like kind of got like this whole resurgency, and then we saw with Fleetwood Mac too and things like that, where there's all this resurgency of like the younger generation, or like like getting used, getting this music for the first time.
Yeah, like Bobby Caldwell's song came out in the 80s and now it's back on the charts right now, and
that's the cool thing about TikTok is that, it opens that window up to people. And that's one of the aspects I do like about it. And I do like the fact that it's not really, certain things aren't regulated like that, which is super cool. And it's, like it opens that whole thing up. But it's just like when it comes to like the monetary aspect of it, you're not really looking. I mean, the end of like the artists, the underground artists, whatever, just trying to make some shit out, you're really just trying to get a look at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But like for the people that's, you know, like the artists, say like you're James Blake, who's like established, and
Yeah.
this is his way, this is his like bread and butter right here. This is, he is a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how he makes his like nut essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta pay the fucking people, dog.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and I mean, I Universal kind of frames it in a way to where it's at the artist's best interest to pull it off of TikTok, but it's really in the label's best interest to pull it off of TikTok because they haven't figured out how to profit off of this yet.
Yeah. The thing that, I agree with you, and I think it's cool that like songs like the Bobby Caldwell thing can happen. But the thing that I really hate more than the monetary gain it's definitely sucks for the artist. I'm not an artist, so I guess it doesn't affect me. So my point is coming more from a listener standpoint. But it sucks. Obviously, the artists are getting screwed. They're not getting paid jack shit for their hard work. But also, it's affecting the art itself. It's affecting the way it's being recorded and pushed to the audiences, because obviously people's attention spans are nothing now, so they're making the songs more and more dumbed down and shorter and shorter and shorter so they can fit into, TikTok videos and shit like that. So like James Blake said, he's like, do you want quality music or do you want, these little snippets? He's like, we're going on tour and people literally only know a part of one song, and then that's all they're there for, is to get their little clip to put on the internet. They don't even give a shit about the rest of the show.
Talk about what's my man from the internet, Steve Lacy.
Steve Lacy, that happened to him
when
all
Bad
too.
Habits dropped off and stuff like that. And I mean, that was a whole thing too. And that's the thing. That's why I say like TikTok is fair in that aspect of anything can go viral, but that is also could be detrimental to artists too, I guess.
Yeah.
In a way.
And
but I mean, if you are still selling out tours based off of a clip, I mean, it sucks, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, even me thinking of my artist brain, I'm like, I want you to know my whole catalog. I want you to be there. If you're still getting the profit off of that though, shit, I gotta edit that, damn it. But it's like, I guess it becomes, what is it about? Is it about catching a single, or is it about the full body of work? And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I actually found this article from Revolt that
Nice.
TikTok actually responded to that universal statement, and it says, quote, TikTok accused Universal Music Group of, quote, putting their greed above the interests of their artists and songwriters. The platform continued, despite Universal's false narrative and rhetoric, that the fact is that they have chosen to walk away from a powerful support of a platform with well over 1 billion users that serve as a free promotional and discovery vehicle for that talent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the way you got to look at it, too. It's like, you open it up to, like, this whole generation of people that would have not found otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my 19-year-old cousin is not gonna look for Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
But you might find it, off of like a funny TikTok or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, who is
And
this?
you
And
might-
stuff
yeah.
like that. And then you become a fan,
And you go back
like,
and do
oh,
your
yes.
homework.
Like,
and-
oh, yo, Stevie Nicks is the shit.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of in the same way that I would be lying if I said I didn't discover a lot of music in my youth by watching movies and stuff. Like, I'd hear like an old song in a movie, be like, oh shit, what is that? And then go try to figure out what it is and stuff like that. So it's kind of similar in a sense to what that is. But it's funny because it's not a new thing. These labels have always kept their eyes on what is best marketed. Like the last episode that we did was talking about crossover success. That was a large part of the whole theme that we're talking about today too, because they were wanting stuff that was palatable to the market, to the masses. So you wanted to have songs that were more pop driven, which would be, shorter in length, thematically not going too deep on any specific issues because you don't want to alienate anyone else out of the crowd. So you had, a lot of Motown artists would get into fights with Berry Gordy because, you know, you had not only the racial unrest going on in the late 60s, but you had the Vietnam War, and you had Martin Luther King and Malcolm X get murdered, Bobby Kennedy and John F. Kennedy get murdered. So these artists started to want to talk about other things that the labels didn't want them to talk about in their music because they didn't want to alienate the white crowd and make it so these singles weren't being pushed across all the different radio stations and the integrated stations.
At the end of the day, like, it's really about who are you making music for? Are you making it for, you know, growth purposes for yourself and things like that? You know, like, to actually, like, not even necessarily make a difference, but just make the music you want to make, you know?
Yeah.
It's like kind of sacrificing that, you know, not sacrificing that integrity or whatever goes into, which, you know, very few people can do, like, given the situation. Like, we talked about it last episode, like, you know, labels are essentially loan offices.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people are broke. We struggling out here. I mean, we're about to hit another recession. Like,
Yep.
everything, inflation's all the way fucking up right
Yep.
now. Like, it's crazy out here. If you catch a lick off of a TikTok 30-second clip and somebody offers you, like, you know, offer you like 500,000, shit, some maybe even less than that for like a deal, a lot of people are gonna take that. You know? So I get it, but is it worth sacrificing the integrity of it? Like, I think it was a long time ago. You told me this clip. I want to say it was King Crooked. Like, had some kind of deal, and they told, like, they did like the research. If you repeat X amount of words or whatever like that in the song, it's gonna catch on more and stuff like that. So, are you willing to, like, really
sell out?
Essentially, like, like, really, like, be the label puppet for, you know, monetary gain? Which I get that if you do that, given the situation and stuff like that. Or are you willing to, like, you know, bet on yourself and really make what you want to make? Yeah. And, you know, kind of take the independent route.
It's funny in going back and learning this history about, you know, Stax Records and Motown Records and these different labels of the 50s and 60s. A lot of the Stax Records guys in the South, you know, they were making stuff that was more soulful than the output that was coming out of Motown at the time. And a lot of them kind of looked down on Motown at the time of being, like, kind of pandering to the white crowd. And so they would kind of make fun of them a little bit, even though, you know, obviously Motown was genius, because what they did figure out how to do was take these real deep musical parts of these songs and kind of pepper them into more pop driven songs to kind of get, so they'd have these really jazzy, beautiful breakdowns and stuff like that, but they'd work it away into, you know, still make it pop centric, which
like
was kind of
talking
genius.
about, like, crossovers. We were talking about, like, how, like, another one I forgot to mention was Michael Jackson with Off the Wall album. Off the Wall, you know, was categorized as an R&B album. And then Michael was kind of put into a box as, like, you know, like, R&B artist, stuff like that, never really cross over. And this was, like, the whole fight with him trying to get on MTV. Him and Prince, I want to say, is around that time, too. Yeah. And then he was like, you know what, fuck that. I'm about to make a straight-up pop album. And that's when Thriller came about and things like that. And I think Thriller, is it still the most selling album of all time?
That's probably, maybe, I don't know. You know, I don't know that stat.
Did Eminem or Drake or somebody, like, beat him?
I don't know.
I
don't know that.
Gotta look that one up.
Stat.
But I mean, at the time, it's still, like, I mean, it for a long time. I don't know if it's currently upheld. You know, we'll put the research in that in the notes or whatever. But it was still the highest selling album of all time. I think when the Thriller video came out, it sold 10. It was already 10 million copies already deep.
Oh, for sure. But anyways, yeah. So speaking on the albums and singles thing, the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about that today as the theme is, as I go back and do this homework on these different labels and stuff, I was always curious to why, when I would listen to older music, you'd have a lot of artists recording the same songs. Like, I feel like when you listen to 50s and 60s records, they'll be like, you know, Stevie had done a bunch of Beatles songs and Doors tunes, and, you know, Respect is actually an Otis Redding song that Aretha Franklin covered, and then it was a smash for her. Well, I guess back in that day, you know, when these labels like Motown and stuff were kind of run like a factory with 9 to 5. You know, you had the songwriters, the house band, and then the artists. So, you know, they would give these songs to multiple different artists to record because they were just trying to catch a single. That was what it was all about in the early days. They were just trying to catch a single. So whoever fucking caught one first, you know, that's who we would roll with. But that's why you have so many of different versions of the same song recorded by different artists at that time, because they were just giving, the labels would give that song to fucking everybody.
I didn't know that. That makes total sense.
Yeah. So that's why you got a lot of that going on in the early days. And the albums, when you go back to some of the early ones, like when you look at the early Stevie, the early Isaac Hayes, the early Otis Redding, and so on and so forth, it'll be like whatever the single was of that time that they were trying to push the most of, a few covers, and then it would be like, you know, maybe like an alternate version of something, and the albums would usually run around 30 minutes. You know, they'd be like 6, 7, 8 songs, something like that. But then like a shift happened around the mid to late 60s where people started getting a little more psychedelic in their music, getting a little bit more socially and politically driven in their lyrics, and started making stuff that was meant to be played as an album. And so the labels realized that, oh shit, well, these songs now, if we do it like this and there's interest in all of these songs on the album, we can get more than one song on this album to chart. There's more money in it that way. So then in the late 60s, there was a push for albums. And so that's when you started getting the most creative work out of a lot of the artists of that time. Some of their best work came out like in the late 60s, early 70s. You know, Stevie Wonder, Isaac Hayes, you know, Otis Redding, all that shit started to get like a little bit kind of more groovy in that time period. So, I don't know, something that I thought was interesting about albums and singles.
You want to know what's interesting to me? I just really thought about this, like that kind of flip. You know how like the labels wanted you to stay away from like political and social topics at that time?
Yep.
I feel like now in today's time, they almost make artists get political and social. Like 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 when George Floyd and everything like happened, and with Trayvon Martin, like like this like a few years ago, like we're coming up almost like 10 years of that now, right? I feel like that's almost a thing where they almost not force necessarily, but it's like very heavily encouraged to like, yeah, you should mention something about this. It'll probably catch on.
Definitely,
like that.
Definitely on
you're
their
almost
social
like
medias,
exploding.
for sure,
You're
if
exploiting
forced to,
like, and I mean that's the exploitation of artists and like people's deaths and things like that. And that's a whole. I mean, I guess it's a similar topic, but it's a nasty fucking game.
It is. Yeah. But two examples of people that are so genius to me that I've been learning a lot about. Obviously, if you listen to our podcast, you know that I'm obsessed with Stevie Wonder. He's my favorite of all time. And I think it's really interesting. Two men I want to talk about, Isaac Hayes and Stevie Wonder. Both of these men kind of in a way figured out how to...
favorite singer and my favorite singer.
Yeah. Both of these men in a way kind of figured out how to buck the system and get a little bit more artistic control than other people, other contemporaries of theirs at the time. Stevie was because they signed him so early. So Stevie got signed at 12 years old to Motown Records. So his trajectory from like 12 to like 16, 17 was completely all artist development. They were just trying to figure out what they could do with Stevie. So he was kind of like a studio rat. He just hung around all the acts that were recording. He would play. I mean, they would let him, Berry Gordy would let him do whatever he wanted in there, when they weren't recording other artists. So he really was allowed to develop as an artist and figure out. They put out a bunch of stuff for Stevie that he didn't like doing and that he didn't want to be part of. But it didn't really matter because of his age at the time, and he still had so much room and time to grow as an artist.
Right.
Where and as far as that went, at that time, all of his music was be putting in a trust fund, or all his money from making the music up until 21 was put into a trust fund. And so he got all that money at 21, and basically Berry Gordy had to let him do whatever the fuck he wanted artistically to keep him at Motown Records and not going somewhere else, because he came into all this money. and then he spent it all on making, you know, one of the greatest creative runs in music history with 5 albums, like from 21 to 26 years old, where, you know, all of Stevie's best work happened in that time period. Well, with Isaac Hayes, I guess actually this would be a good time to switch into something old, something new, because it is my something old for today as well. Isaac Hayes, whoopsies, kind of was able to do a similar thing over at Stax Records. So Isaac Hayes was a member of Booker T and the MGs.
Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga.
And they were the house band over at Stax. And so they were always in the studio writing and coming up with concepts and themes. So Isaac had a lot of time to create his own sound as well as working on other people's stuff. And he had written and recorded so many hits for Stax Records that they kind of, with his own music, kind of they were just like, we're going to let you do whatever the fuck you want to do because you've made so much money for us as a label. So Isaac Hayes' shit was so much different than was coming out at that time. For one, they said it was still very racist times in the South, and for him to come out and put this album cover out with his black bald head with a big ass fucking gold chain on, they said was like actually very like pushing the envelope at the time.
Like, I mean, Isaac Hayes is one of my favorite vocalists of all time. Like, one of my favorite musicians. Dude does everything. He was a shit starter. Mm-hmm. He really was.
He was
like,
definitely.
Right. Yeah, like I forgot that. What was the album he put out before Hot Buttered Soul? It was,
the one before that was like kind of in the same vein where it was kind of like early Stevie stuff, where it was stuff he recorded but he didn't really love doing.
You could tell like it was a commercial flop by like success. I mean, by like his standards or whatever, and it just didn't. I mean, he had like full label backing on that one too. Yeah, but then they were like damn near about to drop him before this album came out.
Yeah, the first one was just called Presenting Isaac Hayes. There you go. And it's funny because he's got, you know, it's so the whole art direction is so completely different. Everything he put out afterwards.
Because I know, like on that album, like Walk On By, for instance, is also a Dionne Warwick song too.
Yeah. That's actually a Burt Bacharach written song, I think, that Walk On By. But yeah, so the other interesting thing is what was weird about this Isaac Hayes album is that it's only 4 songs. And it starts with like a
4 songs, but they're all like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's like it's ridiculous. Let's see, how long is the Walk On By? The first 12 starts with a 12-minute song. But anyway, so yeah,
arguably one of the most sampled songs in hip hop.
Oh yeah, for sure. Starts with a 12-minute song, and I'm gonna make this argument that Isaac Hayes is actually the one that started hip hop.
I'm listening.
Prior to Kool Herc. One, this album cover is so fucking hip hop. Just from the way he's dressed to the style of it. Definitely very hip hop aesthetic to what you see now. You see all the artists wear gold chains and shit like that now. And that was very new at the time. No one was doing what he was doing on this. So that was one thing. 2, he actually he used to put these long intros on his albums, and they would label him on the albums Isaac's Rap. And it wasn't him rhythmically rapping, but it would generally be him talking to the crowd about the song that he was going to perform next. And so that they said that he would always talk about, you know, rapping to the crowd. And I don't know, it's just the way he carried himself, the way he created the music. Listen to just 2 seconds of this. I can't play, but listen to the fucking drums on Walk On By.
I don't even know if you can play that, dog.
Oh, it's not even on the thing.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
I'll just say, actually, pull up Walk On By right now if you're listening by Isaac Hayes and play it for yourself, and then come back to the podcast and tell me them drums ain't fucking hip-hop drums before hip-hop drums were hip-hop drums.
That's why it's sampled. That's why it's one of the most sampled ones ever. So there's an argument for that. There's also an argument for Rudy Ray Moore as like the godfather of hip-hop too.
Yeah.
Dolomite.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Dolomite because of the personality, the swagger. Like you have this like pimp swagger, things like that, and then, you know, like using like that rhyme cadence, like going into his like comedy sets and things. There's also an argument for Rudy Ray Moore as well too, as like a godfather of hip hop, and he is actually credited as like a big founder of like hip hop culture and things like that too. As far as like Isaac Hayes to go, That album, Buttered Soul, I think I have used that album as one of my something O's, by the way.
Yep. And it predates
it's one of those ones that
predates DJ Kool Herc's hip hop party that we all say started in '73. This album came out in '69. So
no,
I'm just saying.
No, that album is an absolute classic. I mean, it's hard to even call it an album because it is 4 songs. It's pretty much an EP, but it's like the longest EP probably ever made.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And his albums after that would go on to be like that. They would all have these long ass fucking songs, like these crazy long. I don't know. It's just crazy.
We
he was
went
a
from
fucking
that,
musical genius
we went
too.
from that to like minute and a half, 2 minute songs and things like that from TikTok, which I'm I'm not all the way mad at in a way, but it's like you have to be a certain type of artist to like catch an attention like that.
Yep.
And attention spans are obviously longer than there wasn't really much media and shit like that to like really distract people. So yeah.
Yep. Agreed. So yep, that's Hot Buttered Soul by Isaac Hayes. That is my something old this week. E-Man, what do you have?
Dude, I do have one, but it's not it's way later in life.
Oh yeah. All right.
It's way later. One of my favorite eras in hip hop was the blog era, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go about an artist. I feel like a rapper that I feel like never really gets the love he should have in hip hop for me. I'm gonna go with Dom Kennedy, Get Home Safely.
Ooh.
One of my favorite probably projects. Yeah, it's his second studio album, and West Coast, like he was really big with like Nipsey and like all that, like that whole movement from there. Mustard, like before Mustard was Mustard. But yeah, this album for me, I want to say is probably the concept behind it has like the warriors going on through it, like whereas like the whole project starts off like you're on one side of like the city and then you're going from the other side of the city, but all this stuff kind of starts happening to you and things like that, and then you have like the lady doing like, all right boys, like you're like those OPM boys are on the way like there, so you want to keep that. It's super dope, man. But no, Dom Kennedy doesn't. It's just such a West Coast like relaxed album. After School is definitely my favorite song off this project. It's very like nostalgic to me. It kind of gives you like that feel of like like your friends that's not around anymore, like what would have been, things like that. It's such a great ride of a project to me. And then you have like Please with Nipsey on there. It's. Oh shit! Actually, it charted. I didn't even realize that.
Wow, that's cool.
The album debuted at number 23 on the Billboard 200 charts. I didn't. That's really fucking high. I was not expecting
that's really
that.
good.
Yo, shout out to Dom on that. I do feel like Dom Kennedy is mad underrated.
He is.
There's not enough people talk about him, and he was really behind a lot of that blog era like things. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, shout out to Dom. He's definitely one of the pioneers of that. West Coast sound that we hear everywhere now. Yeah, Dom Kennedy. So let's see. All right, now something new. I think we both have the something new as the same.
Let's
probably
just talk about the fucking Schoolboy Q album. Dog.
Yep.
Let's just do it. I mean,
Blue Lips, Schoolboy Q.
Blue Lips, Schoolboy Q. I've spent so much time with this album at this point, like a lot, like a ridiculous amount of time with this album, and I can honestly say comfortably that this is my favorite Schoolboy Q album.
This is the first rap album that's come out in a minute that I've wanted to run back immediately after listening.
I'm buying the vinyl
right away. I'm definitely going to buy the vinyl for this one.
Like, absolutely.
This one for me, so Schoolboy Q, when he first started, I think his music was more a little bit on the abrasive side. He's definitely got, the gangster rap themes throughout his music, a lot of street stuff in his music early on. And he kind of kept that theme, throughout the first few albums. But, and then he kind of, with Crash Talk, I feel like it was an attempt at trying to pop for the radio the most, a lot of like commercially successful, palatable songs.
He said that.
Pop-centric sounding songs. And this one here, I feel like it's just such like a nice blend of a little bit of all of the stuff he has to offer. You got street stuff, but you got these like, also these beautiful jazzy interludes and beats throughout that kind of meld together with the other themes and stuff that, I don't know, it feels different than anything else he's made. It feels like the most complete work that he's done. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
So I have said on record before on this podcast, and I've said this in my personal life to you and Sean and all that. Schoolboy Q is my favorite Black Hippie member. Like
Nice.
flat out. Like I've said that, and the reason why is because he is the perfect blend of everything I could look for in a hip hop artist. Whereas like, and I'm just go through all of them. Like J Rock has like that perfect like kind of like street like gritty sound to it. Ab-Soul is like very conscious. Kendrick is probably the most marketable of them. That's why he's Kendrick Lamar, is because he has like kind of a balance of both. Schoolboy Q does all of it very well. And that's why I fucking love Schoolboy Q, because the way this album is just put together, man, is just so beautifully done. Like this, and I think Habits and Contractions are probably my favorite two Schoolboy Q albums if I had to rank them. And Oxymoron is probably right behind that too. But yeah, it starts off with like Funny Guy, which is like this like jazzy kind of vibe to it.
Total
and
instrumental.
Then as soon as I saw Rico Nasty as the feature in the second, I'm like, oh fuck, I know exactly where this is.
You
about to go.
knew exactly,
and it went there.
Yes, it sure did.
Yeah,
and shout out Rico, she killed that feature on that shit too.
Absolutely, man. Like it's like everything is like you said. It's this jazzy interlude. It's got the street stuff. You got like Blue Sides, which is like this almost like the Sinatra ass like sounding like production style on that.
Yeah, Blue Slides. It goes from the Funny Guy that E-Man said. Pop is the song with Rico Nasty, the second song that it goes into. Thank God for me.
That song is amazing,
which is a great one produced by Carl Banks. Blue Slides, which is the next one, which E-Man just said is super jazzy. This is probably his most introspective record on the song, or introspective song on the record. It's just real deep, and he kind of just talks about everything that he went through in the 5 years basically since we've seen him last. And then just a completely 180 the vibe. He goes into Yearn 101, which how many bars do you think he packed into that song? There's like 1,000 bars.
20 seconds. He unloaded the clip on that one. That this whole album, just from start to finish, it's a front runner. This and the Boss album are probably like my front runners for hip hop album of the year right now.
Oh yeah, this is definitely my favorite album. No, it doesn't matter the genre. This is my favorite album in 2024 so far.
Yeah, first quarter. Yeah, he won first quarter for me.
Yep, definitely for me. He's got that great fucking feature out of both Freddie Gibbs
feature
and then Ab-Soul right after that. The song with Ab-Soul called Fox, that's probably my favorite song currently on the album. It's got that drum and bass kind of vibe to the production of it that I think is really cool. This is by far and away the best production out of his previous works.
The videos are really cool too, because they
videos
all like
cool.
tie in together. It's like I love a good concept, so it was like they all tie in together with it as well. No, this is from an actual anybody I'm a huge fan of, like I am with Schoolboy Q. I always criticize a little bit harder, I want to say, in a way, and I really have no complaints about this one. It's everything I could want out of Schoolboy Q in this album. Like you get the street shit.
Yeah.
You get introspective shit. You get jazziness. You get.
It feels like he was like, I'm going to do the complete polar opposite of Crash Talk with this.
Yes.
I'm going to go super long. Like Crash Talk was very short listen. All the songs were very short in length.
There's a couple, like Num Num Juice I went back to, but there was like,
definitely.
It was definitely like more, and he said that, like, did you see the statement he put out, like, his like album was like rated?
Yeah.
I agree with most of that. I think I'd put, did he put Oxymoron 2 or 3? I don't remember, but like Oxymoron with me would be 3 in my opinion, and I would put Habits and Contractions at number 2. I do love that album a lot. Hands on the Wheels is still a fucking banger to this day. But,
yeah, it sure is.
Speaking
of Rocky, I really love that new single with him and
Anderson
.Paak and the Free Nationals.
That's some jazzy shit.
Gangsta.
I cannot wait what
I know my daddy was a
cannot
gangster.
wait what Anderson .Paak got cooked up.
Oh, he just posted a picture of him and Knowledge saying something about praising Knowledge for how good he is, and I'm like, ooh, that means they've been working. I can't wait for that No Worries project.
No, I can't wait for the Schoolboy Q tour, dog.
Oh my God, hell yeah, that is gonna be a fun concert.
I saw him during Crash Talk tour, and you think he's getting upgraded? You think he's gonna be an LCA?
Yeah. Definitely. I think the label threw some money at him for this album.
He's going stadium this year? I hope so.
Yeah, I think he's going to be I hope he goes out on the road with someone like from the label too. Like it'd be dope if he went out with like Isaiah or something like that. Ooh, speaking of them, I like the Sir and Isaiah Rashad song too.
I haven't heard it yet.
That's really good.
I'll peep it.
That's a really good single. Sir's new album drops at the end of March, so I am what I predicted on 2 episodes ago, where I said I think it's about to be a spring summer of TDE drops. I think that's what's happening because you got the Blue Lips is out, then 1 month later you're gonna have Sir drop, and then I think J Rock will probably be next, and then I think probably it will be Isaiah, and then back to Soul maybe.
I'm with that.
Then maybe SZA again.
You think so? You think Absol's gonna drop that? Because that was like 2 years ago. Was Herbert?
Yeah, I think he's gonna drop faster this time because
Okay.
I think he's trying to stay talked about more. So I don't think he's gonna wait as long in between drops. Like I think the pandemic fucked a lot of people up. I think that spaced out the drops for a lot of artists because touring was off the table, so there was no money being made to make music, so people just weren't fucking doing it.
But going back to this Blue Lips, man, this is the most complete Schoolboy Q album.
Definitely.
That he's put out, and I can 100% agree with you on that.
Definitely.
It's fucking incredible. So, yeah, shout out to Schoolboy Q. You have a classic in my eyes so far. And I've spent, I was looking at my streaming thing, because I use Tidal and they can check that shit. The only person I have, Schoolboy Q is definitely, the number 2 artist I think I had was Sid Ari the Kid, who also dropped a pretty solid album. And he had the one track about pissing on some girl's face or something.
Oh,
like
Jesus. Gross. No, thank you. I think I'll skip that one.
No. The whole that was literally one track off the whole album is actually pretty incredible. It's just that one made me laugh. But that I had him at number 2, and then in 15, 16 streams or whatever. Schoolboy Q's at 200 something streams. It made me go back and listen to his whole discography off of this album. It's all right, is this my favorite one? I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yep. Mine's been taken up by a lot of Stax Records and Motown Records stuff right now.
I do want to shout out Eric the Architect as well for putting out a really great album.
I haven't heard that one yet.
It's speaking of genre jumping, it's a lot of that.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell he is the big production on Flatbush Zombies.
Mm-hmm.
You got grunge, you got soul, you got R&B, you got pretty much a lot of sonically beautifully sounding songs. You got a feature from George Clinton. You got Channel Trez. You got Joey Badass. You got Westside Boogie.
Damn.
Layla Hathaway. You got a lot of people loaded on this album right now too. Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
I think he is the lead producer on a Flatbush Zombies, right?
I think so.
I think he is the main one. Yeah. So, Zombie Juice, where you at, dog?
Zombie Juice. What's that?
The one person from Flatbush that hasn't dropped a solo album
that's
yet.
right. I forgot his name. Zombie Juice. That is funny to me. The only one new project besides Schoolboy that I listened to this week would be it's kind of just like a B-sides demos kind of thing that Odyssey dropped that I'm going to play one of the tracks to close out the podcast with. But you know how I feel about Odyssey. That man is the shit, and these are some pretty cool instrumentals on here, so I enjoyed it while I was grocery shopping the other day. So shout out to Odyssey. Dude, I can't wait for him to actually put out a real new project because he's the best.
You know what I'm excited for?
Huh?
She's dropping.
Oh, yeah, Tierra Whack! Speaking of Philly.
Dude, you know how long I've been waiting for this fucking Tierra Whack album? 5 years, dog.
Dude,
ever since Whack World was 5 years ago? I want to say 2018, 2019.
The shower song is hot fire. I love this new shit.
Her rollout's been hilarious, by the way. Taking a bath with the hot dog water, shit
dude,
like that.
Her videos are great. Someone made a comment on Instagram that said she's the modern day Missy Elliott. And I was like that. Oh, did you say that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is facts. That is a fact.
She's a modern day Missy Elliott. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Comparison.
Tierra Whack, visually, I haven't seen anybody creative since a Busta Rhymes or Missy Elliott with video production, or Tyler, I guess, will be another one too for that. But
I love people that put the work into the whole package, the whole thing, the visuals, the art.
We were talking about that the gangster song with Anderson .Paak.
Yeah,
and,
Free Nationals and ASAP.
Did you see the video for that?
I haven't seen the video yet.
it's
Oh,
a-
wait. It's
it's a
kind of
video-
like grown up from Danny Brown, right? Where they're little kids.
Kinda, but it's also like got this whole Sesame Street vibe to it.
Okay, maybe I didn't see it then.
It's like you just watch it. It's
Maybe
got
I just saw a clip on Instagram or something.
yeah, it's got like it's that, but it has like a Sesame Street vibe. that
Okay,
goes
I'm
with
gonna
it
go
as well.
watch that for
It's
sure.
super dope too. I can't wait for that project. But Tierra Whack is somebody I fucking hold very high in music regards. And I am just ecstatic for her to put a full album out. Because Whack World, I mean, that's how a lot of people like myself got used, hip to her.
Yeah.
But it was only like a minute each of, 15 different songs.
Mm-hmm.
And which is cool, but it's like a teaser. It's like it's like almost like the hand job of music. I'm like, it's cool, but you know what I really want. Give me the full thing. Like, it's kind of like, it's cool.
Give me a hell yeah!
But yeah, like I'm really excited for this Worldwide Whack album that's coming out this Friday. So next week or 2 weeks from now, we'll give you the review on it. Let it sit. Also, Ransom and Harry Fry put out like an
Ooh,
EP.
I got to get to that. I haven't heard that one yet.
Had
But
that bitch on in the gym. It was fire.
I wanted to be able to. I'm going to talk about that one next week because I wanted to be able to sit with that a little bit and actually be able to dive into it a little bit. But one thing that I wanted to mention real quick before we go, because I forgot to on the last episode, I just wanted to say shout out to the 88.1 high school radio station over at the Plymouth Educational Park.
Yeah, Salem.
I went to a cool little like record sale they had going on where they had a bunch of different vendors, different record shop openers that came and brought parts of their collections. It was all to benefit the radio station. Paid a little donation to get in, and that got you to all of them. That is actually where I got those two albums that I was talking about last week, the Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay and the Jimi Hendrix Otis Redding Monterey Pop performance. So yeah, shout out to them. It was a really cool event, and support the radio station because it is a cool thing. It's a dying art form, but that it's hopefully one that people will kind of still grab onto.
One of
and
my
keep alive.
biggest regrets is when they actually launched a radio like a class for the radio station, like my second semester of my senior year in high school.
Yeah.
And I ended up becoming a fucking tutor. Instead of taking the class.
I wanted.
I regret
I'm so mad I
that
didn't.
so much. I'm
Me
like,
too.
dog, my grades are not good enough to tutor anybody. What the fuck was I thinking?
I'm so mad at myself for never working with the radio station. I should have done
But
the same
yeah,
thing.
shout out to peace up, alma mater, man. Like,
Yep.
I had some really fucked up times there, but I've also had some really great times there. So yeah.
Absolutely. But anyways, that is another episode for you. We will come back with some fresh new themes
We didn't
in a
talk
couple
about
weeks.
the Little John meditation album.
Oh, we will table that.
I missed that.
Actually, I just watched an origin story on Lil Jon, so I got more to say about him. So we'll talk about Lil Jon a little bit on the next episode.
That and then Meek Mill dropped a 5-piece on independent.
I haven't listened to this, but man, Meek Mill, his little.
We're not talking.
We'll
about,
talk about that later.
We're not going to talk about that right now.
My lord, I've never seen someone defend themselves so crazily on the internet before. It's insane.
Right,
but
yeah.
anyways, so here's to take us out tonight. Here's a little bit of a song called Evermore off the new Odyssey project. I really like the lyrics of this song. So here's a little bit of that. We will catch you next week. Peace.
Peace.